associate's degree, and
cool.
yeah, so he's moving on to his bachelor's degree, and they're going to be stationed in Alaska beginning in, I guess, January. So that's a long way to go.
Yeah, that's quite a bit away from Kansas.
That's a long way from Kansas.
A long way from here.
Yep, that's a long way from here. But anywho,
Well, I'll
sad.
have to move to New York. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay, Mo, you should have more articles than anybody. You've been laying on your butt all
Well, actually, I have, but my phone has kind of died. But I've seen a lot of stuff, and one just totally took me. I put it to the side because after I read it, I was like, "There's no way in the world that this is true." I thought it was something that I needed to check on Snopes because it just had to be false. So I did. I put it to the side, and then a few days later, I saw something else pop up. And so made me go and look again. And it is true. Apparently, there's a lawyer in California who decided to propose a bill that would make it a law to shoot in the head or by any means necessary kill actively gay and homosexual people.
He's trying to make that a law
In California. He's paid the money. And he's got signatures or whatever it takes to
He got enough people to sign something to agree with it?
Apparently so. And his basis is that some scriptures from the Bible about, the head. I can't remember the verses. But anyway, scriptures from the Bible. I thought, if he read this Bible and he held to this Bible, isn't there also a place in there that says, "Thou shalt not kill"? Dude, I mean, really, it's just, I was so blown away by this, I just stuck it to the side and thought, there's no way. And then a few days later, I saw another article. Oh, let me back up. In that article, it said that the people in legislation were saying that they were going to have to let it at least go through to be, voted on or whatever, because he had paid the money and because he'd done what he was supposed to do, they were going to have to let it at least go through. And I thought, oh my God, there's no way to stop this nonsense. But there is a California, I want to say Attorney General or something. I don't remember the exact title she held, who is working to stop it, to block it.
Definitely.
And I'd seen that article, and that's when I went back. And this is true. I mean, y'all speak because I'm.
Well, how come if you're going to do that, then people that pick up firewood on Sunday need to be stoned. If you cook two different types of meat in the same pan. It's just so many things that they stoned people for or executed people for or said they did. Why just pick one thing? Why do they just pick one archaic thing in the Old Testament that has all these
and don't
crazies.
Go shoot rapists and murderers and stuff in the head, but people that are practicing homosexuality.
Yeah, sodomy. I think that was the particular thing that he was against, the sodomites. Ruthie, what say you?
Well, anybody that feels that way, they are so full of misery, they don't know what's right and wrong, I think.
Yeah.
If just to think about shooting somebody, not just in the head, but shooting somebody, that's bad. I mean, and it'll make you sick if you dwell on it. So I feel sorry for the gentleman. I hope other people come to their senses and realize that this is way extreme of human nature.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Kimberly, what are your thoughts?
I can't believe he got enough people to sign it to push it forward. That's just insane.
I'm assuming that there had to be signatures or something. Like I said, I read the article. It's been several weeks, and I was just, or a week or so, and I was just.
I would think there would have to be,
outraged.
and I am just presuming, but surely money is not enough to push a law forward. I would hope.
Yeah.
You know, that money would not be enough to make it go to the next step, that you'd have to have some kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are certain steps, and that's what they were saying, is that whatever the steps were, he had taken them. There was a certain amount paid, and this had been done, and this had been done. And I don't remember reading that there was definitely signatures, but
Yeah.
I think on a lot of things, when you
That's
propose a
just-
bill or something, you do have to get a petition or, I don't know.
Yeah, that's like I was, thinking about what Rhonda said. Were we going to let the rapists out of prison as long as they pay a fine to the dad? Is that what we're going to do next? We're going to start stoning adulterers?
Right.
That's crazy.
This guy's a lawyer, the guy that, let's just give this loser's name
Yeah.
to everybody. Matthew McLaughlin. It said, okay, it's a proposed bill. It said it's unlikely to advance too much farther because it requires over 360,000 signatures to proceed, but it got far enough as a proposed bill.
That they have to do something to stop it,
Right. And they will, I'm sure. But,
You would hope.
well, there's a public outcry now to disbar this man.
Yes.
I would think so.
Yes, crazy people should not be
I mean,
in positions of power.
One of my cousins, he posts on Facebook, and he is dead set against homosexuality, and he says, he's one of these people that will say it straight out, but he also says, if you're homosexual, don't go looking for businesses and target them to say, hey, look at the wrong that they're doing, they won't serve us, blah blah blah. If you want, to be homosexual or you are homosexual and whatever, that's your business. He's like, but just like you can refuse to serve a Christian who, believes or doesn't, think you're okay, they have a right to not serve you or whatever.
Right.
So, and that's his philosophy. But I think there has to be a line drawn when you're saying and advocating killing somebody because you disagree with how they are,
Yeah, that's
whether they're choosing it or whether they're born that way. You're advocating murder. And last I heard, we weren't allowed to go around murdering people in this country.
Or even advocate it, or even say, threats. To me, this is an overt threat.
Right.
On this class of this grouping of people who are protected by, hate crime laws and things like that. And I think the point is good about, if you know that X, Y, and Z bakery will not cater to homosexuals, this is me. And maybe if I was if I were in a different position, I would feel differently. But don't go get your cake there. Go to the one next door.
I wouldn't want to give my business or
wouldn't
attempt to
either.
give my business or even give them a chance if I knew that they were
Right.
flat out dead set,
Yeah.
calling me names to my face, don't want my business.
Right.
That's just it. But along that same lines, I read another article about in Austin, Texas, signs were being put up exclusively for whites only in today's age. So while we say that, you don't have a right to serve gays, now in Austin, Texas, I mean, they're saying that these signs are being put up all over that say exclusively for whites.
Yeah. I don't
Where-
think, I
where
don't think
does
it's gonna
it-
fly. I think,
Well, but where does it end? Because if you don't have to serve gays,
Right.
then they could say, well, I don't want to serve blacks, or I
Or-
don't want to serve women.
or right.
So
or I don't want to serve whites.
I understand that there's a back and forth there, and there has to be a fine line to where you can't force them to serve you, but at the same time, I don't know.
That is true. I guess it's situational.
Now, Austin, Texas is saying that they, the city, the legislative and stuff are saying that this is not something that they believe in at all, but it is going up around the city.
Yeah, well, I forget. It's title, crap, I can't remember. Title 13, it's title something that to me prohibits any type of, action like that that we've made in this country. So maybe I'm mixed up about that. But, it's horrible to exclude anybody. It
Right.
really is. I wouldn't want the pedophile to come to the, kiddie party, so I would exclude that. but some things are just
Well, I
more
think
obvious.
that's more of a protection issue. You know, I'm not going to, want the neighbor down the street who I know it's been proven has raped a minor anywhere near my child. So that's a protection issue. It's not he's black and I don't want him at the party, or he's a gay man or gay woman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could say he's gay and he may, try to rape me, or I don't know. People will just come up with all kind of crap, but it is different, I think, with pedophiles and stuff. Ladies, what do y'all think?
Well, if I was walking down the street going to a restaurant and this restaurant had a sign out said for whites only, I would pass them up and go someplace else. I wouldn't give them my business if they don't want to give to
Right.
to a friend of mine that happens to have a little different colored skin. In fact, my daughter probably could be served there because she has an olive skin, and they'd think she was part Mexican or part black or part something.
Yeah.
And so I just wouldn't give them. And if I knew of a business that all the time wanted to, if they found out that you were gay, they wouldn't serve you, I wouldn't go there either. I'm not gay, but I wouldn't go there either. I mean, if you're going to discriminate against one person, pretty soon you're going to discriminate against a whole bunch of others, and I won't give them my business.
Right, and that's how I think it should be handled. I do not think it should be something that a law is made. I think the government needs to stay out of it and let consumers take care of it. Because as soon as you say it's now a law, you must serve these people, well, then you've lost other people's rights to say no to someone else. And, their right to say, I won't serve gays, protects your rights to say, okay, I won't serve fanatics that hate gays.
True.
Right.
So it needs, in my opinion, it needs to be the consumer that says, like Ruth did, okay, well, if this is how you feel, I won't do business with you.
Right.
And eventually, the business will either have to change its ethics or they'll shut down.
Exactly. I agree with that too, because I do believe, and it's a thin line,
Right, yeah, it is.
Like if I had a business and, I'll just come out and say it, like these skinheads, I wouldn't want them to come to my business and, sit and eat. And I don't know, call me prejudice or whatever, but that just leaves a horrible feeling with me, and I wouldn't want them in my establishment.
Well, I think that tends to be because you don't like what they're promoting.
Right.
They're promoting hate, and you're about being inclusive to people. And while you want to be inclusive to them being in your establishment is going to shove off a whole ton of other people because they're believing they're the only ones that are worth anything in life, and white supremacists,
And they could hurt people, like if they would make comments to people in my establishment. You know, I wouldn't want other people to be hurt by their rhetoric and their, crazy thinking. In my opinion, and probably everybody's opinion.
Right. And I kind of agree with Kimberly that maybe it just needs to be more handled by the consumers because, word of mouth will get around, and that people will stop going to a business or whatever, or tell people, make it known, hey, look, these people are like this. And the problem hopefully will fix itself, And there is a very fine line because, like she said, where you don't want to serve people that are fanatical and against these people at the same time, the other group.
Their rights protect your rights.
Yep, exactly.
You can't take their rights away and keep yours.
And then keep your own. Yep.
That's true. That's very true. We have about, less than 10 minutes left, but what was up with that co-pilot smashing that plane into the Alps? Allegedly, they say he did it on purpose.
Well, he locked the pilot out from what I understand. And
just, it was weird because as soon as I saw that, I didn't know anything about it, didn't know he locked anybody out. But when I saw that, I said, that's intentional. That was some type of a suicide, murder, definitely murder. And then all of a sudden, all this started coming out, and I'm like, I had no inkling. I just had this little feeling. I had no evidence, I should say, but I had this this feeling, and but poor people at the last minute. They said they heard screams. They didn't really could tell maybe until you're just about to that mountain, and then you can start seeing it getting closer, and you can't get any higher. You're going lower, and just obliterated the thing. Just so sad.
I think it's horrible that that it happened. It's horrible that people had to, that it couldn't just be something where he just decided to take himself out if he was going to take himself out. But it's just, I can't imagine having to go through that. It just seems like we've got to figure out a way to, and I don't know how, but there's so many people that do crazy things like this and harm other people. It seems like there would have to be a way to figure out and what's going on with some of these people before they get to these kind of places.
Better screening process or something.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more than unless you're just so depressed. But to me, it's more than being depressed. And I'm speaking with zero knowledge of what I'm getting ready to say. But if you're depressed and you want to commit suicide, he could have slit his wrist, shot himself in the head, took pills, stepped in front of a train. This was to me more than just I'm depressed and I can't go on. You made a conscious decision to murder people, and to me I don't know. There's just not much of an excuse for you. It's sad that you're depressed. It's sad that you wanted to kill yourself. But do that. You should have done that before you left for the office. And that's the way I feel.
Well, I guess the argument could be made that maybe he snapped at the last minute or something, and the guy left the cockpit. Then he, decided to lock the door and do it. Then, that was his moment of.
Yeah, but you can. What till you get home?
Yeah,
and I just, why do it?
You would think the rational human being would say, "Okay, I don't want to live anymore," but I've got a crew full of people, and I've got people in here that are passengers, and
and so that you're not just depressed. To me, you're sociopathic too.
Yeah.
And I have zilch experience and this much education with, I've taken courses, but I'm nothing. I'm not a professional. In my mind, that's the way I feel about it. What do you ladies think?
Well, yeah, he was. I totally don't know what you're talking about, but other than what you've just said, I didn't see any articles or anything. But it sounds like I would say sociopath would be accurate. That's a person who can't empathize with other people, and if he snapped in the cockpit and said, "Okay, I'm ready to die," he wouldn't consider the people in the back to even be relevant. I would think if he was sociopathic.
Well, too, it said that they found letters from doctors that was in his apartment. Doesn't the doctor have a responsibility to let, especially a pilot, to let their bosses know that that this doctor wrote a letter saying he was not able to work? Shouldn't he have had some kind of a responsibility to report that?
How far does patient confidentiality go?
Well, I think as a person that is, I'm not this person, but I'm just saying as a person that works in the healthcare field, doctor, psychiatrist, whatever, there is patient confidentiality, but at the same time, I think there is a legal and an ethical and professional responsibility to protect
if you think somebody's dangerous.
people. And if somebody's going to be a danger to other people or even to themselves, and it's a viable, realistic thing that you think is going to happen, that you have to report it.
Right.
Or by law, you can be held responsible.
That's true. It is. It's called, I forget what it's called. It's something to warn. It's something blank to warn. But they have to say, sometimes I feel like just crashing the plane of people in a mountain, or I feel like strangling my girlfriend, or, they have to say that. But if he goes in there and just says, I'm depressed, I'm this, I feel whatever, unless he says those magic words, that they're bound by this patient, client privilege, confidentiality. And so I forget what it's called because I heard him talking about it the other night. But my God, and his family, they feel bad that their son is dead. And they got to feel so bad and responsible that he killed 149 people,
Yep.
And just obliterated people, just obliterated them.
It's awful.
It's awful.
I saw an article that I thought was pretty interesting, and I thought I'd get the women's take on it.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you know who Ashton Kutcher is, but he starred on the 70s show. He's a pretty famous actor. Also does some pranking people show that he has and stuff, and was married to Demi Moore for a while. But anyways, he's a young dad, and he made a Facebook post about wanting there to be changing tables in Targets and Costco's and other places for dads in the men's room so that they can also change their baby's diapers. Because they have them in the women's bathroom, but they don't have them in the men's bathroom. And it went viral.
Wow.
And now he has a petition on change.org to have people support it, to make it to where these stores will put a changing table in the men's room so that they can change their baby's diapers. What do y'all say?
I didn't know they weren't there. I just was presumptuous that,
Yeah, but
that
in the
if you
men's
put
room
it in the
lately, huh?
women's, then you'd put it in the men's. That's okay. Yes, they should be there. Absolutely. Just wow, I didn't know they weren't.
Yeah, because nowadays there's a lot of dads that change baby diapers. Didn't used to be, and I can remember when my Angel had her baby, and they came to visit. The baby's diaper needed to be changed, and Shane, her husband, took the baby into the men's bathroom, but he just put a blanket on the floor and got down there and changed it. Changed the baby,
Yeah.
But and then the blanket was put in with the dirty stuff, you know. But
well, yeah, but you definitely shouldn't have to do that.
I agree. But he thought it was his place to do it because Angel was visiting with her grandma and grandpa, and so he just, that was just the way he was.
Wow.
And at that time, I thought, because when he took me, I thought, well, he's got no place in there to change her. He's going to the car. She said, no, he'll just put a blanket down. So
Good for him. Good for him. I know John is, I would say John probably changes, except for the daytime, of course, but he probably changes, over 50% of the diapers when they're together, So, hey, Mare Bear.
But I thought that was good. I thought that, if there's something you're passionate about and you want to see change happen,
Yeah, very good.
yes, he has more of a platform because he's a star, but in the same respects as not giving up on your dream. If there's something you're passionate about, there is a way to get it out there. And especially with our social media these days, Twitter and Facebook and, just Instagram and just every different one that you can think of, you can get it out there and you can figure out a way to make it known. And, I applaud it. I think that's great.
Very good.
So
I think it's good too because he didn't have to do that because they could have people that would help them or you know what I'm saying?
They got 50,000 signatures in a week.
Yeah, but he's making it easy for like the common person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's good. I think he and his new wife, or if they're married or not, we're not sure. They're not sure, but they're sure, Mila and Ashton. But they act like they might be married, may not be married, but they seem to be like down to earth, and just we're gonna take care of our babies. We watch, and we don't have this whole staff of people to do all this, and so. Yeah, I think that's good. Make it easy for the common person. They did a good thing by making family bathrooms where you can go in and they have those.
Target.
Yeah.
I noticed on Walmart now has them.
So I think that's awesome. All right, we are out of time. And don't forget, next Sunday on Reflections, we're going to talk only about, we're going to bring you some information on the problems that people have to get clean drinking water. We'll probably show you a video or two. We'll have the ladies give some, bullet points on things that you could do to help.
Maybe different organizations,
That's right.
depending on what your
Yeah,
beliefs or thoughts are on who you would give to and who you wouldn't to help this cause.
that's right. Absolutely. So that's going to be a great, great Easter Sunday, and we are trying to resurrect compassion. And you can let compassion be a variable, A through Z. And just as Jesus was resurrected and is compassion, we want to resurrect compassion. And if we just had the teeniest bit of compassion as much as Jesus had, I think more people would be better off, and I know the world would be. So, not today. We always say, "What would Ruthie do?" But we're going to say, "What would Jesus do?" He would definitely give someone a drink. All right, people. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.